Hello everyone, it is Dustin Nulf with eXp Realties, the Dustin Nulf team. Welcome back. And what we're going to look at today is, now that we have our net income goal and we know what our daily activity should look like, we're going to get more specific on how we're going to generate those leads and how we're going to prospect on a daily basis. And we're going to look today at least 9 different lead generation sources that are available to agents. There's definitely more than that, but we're going to look at the main sources that I come across on a regular basis. And we're going to determine a game plan, and we're going to determine which source we're going to use as our primary, and we're going to pick a backup source as well. So I always recommend that agents do not overcomplicate things. There are hundreds of different ways to generate leads in real estate sales. And if we kind of think about all of those at one time, sometimes we end up getting locked up and we don't make a decision and we don't really move forward because there's so much going on or so many different things we can choose from. Another problem that I see with real estate agents is that because there's so many different lead sources available, agents will go out and they'll try a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of that, and they'll spend money and they'll say, well, it's only $100, so they spend $100 here, and then this is only $150, so I'll only spend $150 here, and this one's only $20 a month, so I'll spend money here. And what they end up doing is they spend a little bit here and there, and all those nickels and dimes add up to a lot of money, and agents come in and they end up leading with debt, and that is not a good way to run a business. You want to be able to lead generate for free, basically, at first. And then once you learn how to generate leads, you need to learn how to convert the leads. And what happens a lot of times is these agents come in and they spend all this money and they get leads, but they don't know how to convert them. And then they say, well, this isn't working because I'm getting these garbage leads. They send me garbage leads. The leads are no good. Well, in reality, it's not the leads that are no good, it's the agent that's no good. The agent hasn't learned the skills to convert, and therefore they're just spinning their wheels and spending money for no reason. So we're going to look at least 9 different lead generation sources today, and we're going to talk a little bit about how they work. And what I want you to do is come up with a primary and a secondary. You're going to pick 2 of these, and you're going to focus on the primary first. And if you run out of time on the primary and you're not able to hit your goals with the primary, then you're going to add the secondary as a supplement. Most of the time, if you're doing a good job with the primary, you don't even need to touch the secondary. So let's take a look at these. Okay, so here they are. And actually, there's 10. So we have here expired listings, for sale by owners, buyer leads, social media, sphere of influence, past clients, investors, divorce attorneys, estate attorneys, and business networking. So we say that B2B means business to business. And we're going to go, we're just going to go through these real quick, and we're going to talk about what these mean. And we're also going to talk about the personality style that works best for these specific lead generation sources. So another thing to think about as a business owner, essentially you are a business owner, you're a 1099 contractor and you're creating and running your own business here. You're the only employee maybe right now, but at some point the goal is to turn it into a successful business. And what you got to look at is, what is your personality style, and does the lead generation activity line up with your personality style? And what I'm talking about is, if you are not a very outgoing person and you're not super aggressive or assertive, then you cold calling expired listings is probably not a good idea. So you're going to want to look at something that's more passive aggressive or indirect. And you know, a lot of the gurus out there will just tell you that you got to cold call and call and call and call, and you know, go after these expired and go after these for sale by owners. And that's all well and good, but in my 15 years in this business, what I've experienced was there are agents out there that are not cold calling, yet they're doing 10, 15, 20 million dollars in business. And when I look at how they're doing it, they're doing more of a passive aggressive, indirect approach to lead generation, which works just as good, if not better sometimes, than the direct aggressive approach. And that's not to say that the direct aggressive approach is not the route to take, but you really want to think about the skills that you have and the personality that you have and what's going to fit best with those. And that's not to say that if you've got a passive personality, but you want to do direct aggressive marketing and do cold calling, by all means do it, because I can tell you my personal experience, I had a very passive personality. And when I got into real estate, I actually ended up going and doing cold calling. And I did that. I followed up with more passive indirect marketing to the same demographic, but I did the cold calling because I really wanted to be successful at this. And I knew that that was a skill that I was going to have to pick up if I wanted to be successful in that particular market. So not to discourage you from doing something that may not necessarily fit your personality, but it's something that you do want to think about. Time out real quick. Before we go forward any further, I just wanted to let you know that my company is looking for agent partners all throughout the United States and Canada. If you like what you're seeing today and you would like more help with your real estate business, you're looking for mentorship, coaching, administrative support, and lead generation ideas and systems, please reach out to me by looking at the comments below. We do have a link for you to reach out and get more information about joining our network. Let's get back into it. Okay, so let's take a quick look at these. Expired listings. Expired listings are properties that were listed by a real estate agent or another broker, and the contract to list the property expired. In Pennsylvania and in most states, when the listing contract expires, that means there's no longer an exclusive right for an agent or broker to be listing that property, and therefore you can go after them and solicit that listing. One of the things that you want to be cautious of when you're going after expired listings is that if the property did expire but was relisted and you call them and go after them still, you are soliciting an active listing. So you want to be very sure that that property has not been relisted. If you call a listing that's active, it can be against state law, and therefore you could lose your license if you continue to solicit to active listings. So you definitely want to make sure that you're looking up properties before you call them to make sure they're not already relisted. Expired listings. These are very good for DI personality styles. If you've not already done a DISC assessment, it would be a good idea to do a DISC assessment. So when we're talking about personality styles, a DISC assessment is a really cool and quick way for you to figure out what personality style you have. The DI, DS, or even a DC personality style is going to be very good at expired listings, because I have found that expired listings, you can market to them passively with direct mail, email, and text messages, but the best thing to do is to call them. You're going to cold call them while you're marketing passively, and then you're going to follow up with them on the phone. And if you can do that, you should be relatively successful at converting them once you learn the skills. So the D personality is the direct personality. That's usually the aggressive personality style. So anybody that leads with a D would be good at cold calling expireds. And we can just say a flat out D as well. So those are our personality styles there that would go well for cold calling expireds. For sale by owners, same thing. So for sale by owners are people who put their property on the market for sale on their own. You can find them on Zillow, you can find them on Craigslist, you can find them on Facebook Marketplace, and you can even find them on your MLS. So there are brokers that do for sale by owner listings. The for sale by owner pays the broker $1,000 or something like that, and that broker has an agreement to put the property on the MLS for them, but the broker is a transaction licensee, and they have no obligation to advise in the best interest of the listing client. Well, it's not really a listing client in that case, but they have no interest in the agency side of it. In Pennsylvania, it is okay for us to go after those for sale by owners because they don't have an agency agreement per se with that broker. You would have to talk with your broker and or an attorney to make sure you're doing the right thing in your state. So for sale by owners, again, they are D-type personality. Agents should have like a D-type personality or an ID, or even like an SD type personality, where D can be secondary here, I think, a lot of times. DI, DS, and DCs also work very well. So those personality styles, again, it's going to be a little bit more aggressive. It's going to be cold calling. You're going to be going and meeting the seller at the property usually and trying to tour that property and build a rapport with them. Buyer leads. So we have buyer leads on here. Now, if you are an agent who joined up with a broker, joined up with a team, you may or may not be getting leads from that broker or team. A lot of times as a new agent, you're not going to be given leads by your broker. Your brokers are going to send leads out to the agents that they know that are closing, and you're going to have to build a reputation with your broker in order to get leads. The way our team and the way we work with our agent partners, we start generating leads for our team members and for our agent partners right away, and they get buyer leads consistently. So they might get 1 or 2 buyer leads a week, sometimes more than that, and they have buyer leads that they're able to tap into right away. Now this is going to be better for, well, it's going to be kind of a good match for all personality styles. So you can come in as a relatively passive or shy person and still be good at converting buyer leads, because a lot of the times what I'm finding right now is buyer leads convert by text message more often than any other media communication at the moment. So when you're texting somebody, it's a little bit different than you calling and talking to them on the phone and being on the spot and having to know a script and having to be very assertive. So I'm finding that buyer leads can be converted by all personality styles if they follow the text and email scripts and they're good at following instructions to convert, basically. Social media is next. Social media is more of a passive-aggressive lead source. So we're going to say, you know, I-type personalities, S-type personalities, and C-type personalities. If you lead with one of those, social media might be your thing. So with social media, you do your passive marketing and generate leads that way, and then once the leads come in, they're reaching out to you, so it's not a cold call anymore, it's a warm call to those leads. And a lot of times with social media, if you're doing it right, you're going to be getting clients that are people that you know. So you're not going to be working with strangers, and it's going to be a little bit easier for you to convert those leads. Sphere of influence. So sphere of influence is going to be more of a direct thing if we're doing it the old school way. We can also adapt this for the passive styles. So all of the disc styles can do sphere of influence, but we're going to look, we're going to kind of tweak the plan for lead generation to sphere of influence. We're going to tweak that based on the personality style that we're dealing with. So for example, if you're a DI type personality style, I'm going to be telling you that you need to be calling your sphere of influence and having a conversation with them every day. If you're an SC type personality style, I'm going to tell you that you should text your sphere of influence, you should message them on your favorite social media apps, and you should also send them letters and or postcards and or holiday cards. So it's more of a that's more of a passive approach to marketing to your sphere of influence. And again, your sphere of influence is your friends, family members, and I also include past clients in my sphere of influence. So for me personally, if I'm going to market to my sphere of influence, I do the same marketing to my past clients. Because the way I figure it, my past clients are people that already know me and have already dealt with me. So therefore, I can still approach them the same way I would approach friends or family members. As a new agent, you may not have any past clients, or you may have very few past clients. So you could lump in your past clients with your sphere of influence and call this one, lead generation source altogether. Now, past clients, you can be more passive with them. Past clients don't necessarily want you calling them every other week to see how things are going and to just kind of small talk. So past clients, you're going to be kind of, send them a postcard once a month, happy holidays, send them a card during their birthday, and then reach out to them maybe once a quarter saying, hey, do you need anything real estate related? Do you need any help that I can, help you with? Investors are going to be very good for D and C type personality styles. So investors, especially experienced investors and or corporate or commercial investors, they tend to be very detached from emotions, right? A lot of times they're going to look at a property and they're going to assess the property based on the numbers that property is performing and the location the property's in. And it's going to be strictly a numbers process. It's not going to be about emotions. And they're not going to go in and say, well, I don't like this property because it's painted yellow. Or I can't see myself raising a family here. They're not looking at properties like that. They're looking at the property as, will a family rent this property? Or can I flip this property and walk away with a 20% margin? So investors tend to be D and C type personality styles. So if you're a D or a C type personality style, or if you lead with those traits, investors may be a good resource for you for lead generation. And there's several different ways that we go after investors. And we can take a look at that when we look at our business planning part 3. What we're going to do in business planning part 3 is we're going to break down at least one of these sources and turn it into a daily plan. So we're going to actually have, a step-by-step. This is what I'm going to do every day to market to this lead generation source. And this is what I have to do in order to meet my business planning goals to make X amount of contacts or connections per day. So we're going to look at that in business planning 3. So last but not least, we have our 3, these are kind of the 3 wild cards in lead generation. Do you know a divorce attorney? If you know a divorce attorney where you're friends with a divorce attorney, or you have a family member who's a divorce attorney can be a very good resource for real estate agents, because typically when a divorce happens, if there's real estate that's owned between the couple, that real estate has to be sold. And now, do you want to be dealing with divorces all the time? That's not necessarily the funnest thing for real estate agents to be involved in. So, this could be for all personality styles. However, a lot of times it's going to be best for the people who can detract from the emotional side of things. So D's and C's are going to have an easier time dealing with it than I's and S's. I's and S's tend to be the emotional and empathetic personality styles, and they don't like emotional stress or social stress. So D's and C's are typically going to be able to deal with those divorces a lot easier than an I or an S. Estate attorneys, so this is another one we're talking about. If you have an estate attorney who's a friend or family member and you can get referrals from them, that would be great. Usually you really got to be in with these attorneys in order to get the referrals from them. Estates are the same sort of situation. You have a traumatic kind of event that's happening, and there's a lot of emotions involved. So a lot of times the personalities that are going to kind of work best there are going to be the personalities that kind of can detract and pull themselves outside of that emotional bubble that's forming. And that's not to say that an I or an S style personality can't handle it, but a lot of times they become more easily involved in the emotional side of things, and they kind of attach themselves to the emotions of the situation. So it can be a very stressful situation for them as well, because they get tied into it. Last but not least, we have business networking. And business networking is good for all personality styles, regardless of whether you're passive or aggressive. And there are business networking groups that are out there all over the place. There's national groups, there's local groups. And a lot of times what happens with those networking groups is you have like an attorney, a real estate agent, you have an accountant, you might have a financial advisor, you might have an insurance rep, and they all come together, and the goal of the meetings is, number one, they talk business at the meetings, but they also refer business back and forth to each other, and they have a commitment to refer business back and forth to each other. And those can be really good. However, it does take sometimes a lot of times to develop a lot of leads from it. So I have that as our number 10, because really if you're going to do business networking like that and join these business groups, that probably should be a secondary lead source for you, not a primary lead source. So that being said, that's kind of as far as we're going to go today. Is you need to pick one of these as your primary, and one of these is going to be your secondary source. And that's it for business planning part 2. When we do business planning part 3, there will be a link added to this YouTube video, so you'll be able to access it real quickly from this video, the end of this video. And what we're going to look at part 3 is we're going to take probably sphere of influence, and we're going to break it down and come up with daily activities. What's it going to look like to market to my sphere of influence every day, and how many people do I need in that sphere in order to hit my real estate goals? We're going to look at that in business planning part 3. It's going to be the final part of our business planning sessions, and what it'll allow you to do is go from the numbers, knowing your numbers, to actually daily activities, participating in daily activities that are going to help you run through those numbers from bottom to top and hit your net income goal. If you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe below, and share this with your real estate friends. See you again.